Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members, and ladies and gentlemen. I guess in summary I could say it as an immediate reflection on Robert's speech is I couldn't agree more. And I will go into a little bit more detail on why. And we see that the Commission has, through its cyber security strategy as well as its proposed NIS directive, taken major steps to ensure a viable solution for the security of information and networks across Europe, which we clearly applaud as an industry player. We are and will be even more so in the future, be citizens of the network society. Well, it took us about 100 years to get the first billion connections out there to all the fixed places. It only took us 35 years to connect all the persons in the world. Yes, we now have 6.5 billion persons being connected by the mobile network. We expect that by 2020 there will be 50 billion devices connected. And what these devices will do will be part of crucial business and societal processes, including those type of processes that are considered critical for the well-being of the society, like Robert mentioned, like healthcare, like the electricity grids and so on and so forth. And on the backbone of this is the communications network. So cyberspace in this respect represents a frontier of vast values from economic and social perspective. Values, and these values also create vulnerabilities and dependencies, and values that are far greater than just making a phone call. I mean, we're talking about the whole concept of internet freedom, the total dependence of all the societal process on the connected world, and so on and so forth. So these are fundamental to the society of the future, and the society that the digital agenda are spearheading Europe to enter as a condition for Europe's future competitiveness. Cyberspace is from its very beginning a global platform. There's no way that things can be confined to a single region or a single country. Being open and unconstrained and innovation driven is best serving its value growth. Significant values and dependencies of critical infrastructure open this playing field also for risk in the form of different threats. And the Commission strategy have adequately captured the need for balanced approaches and shared responsibility models to ensure that this global innovative growth perspective can be sustained in coexistence with necessary security measures, protecting society against cybercrime and other malicious acts. Well, the open nature of the Internet also makes it vulnerable. With literally any computing device or any information storage device being connected over the same TCP/IP network, no doubt this is a wide open field for doing good things but also doing bad things. And the cyber universe, it's not much different than the physical universe. There are good guys and bad guys, there are crime, and there's good things being done, and so on and so forth. Whenever there's great value, there are things at risk, and that needs to be catered for. Over the years, though, despite the fundamental openness of the Internet, industry and governments have created means, very much through standards, voluntary processes, best practices, security technologies, that add this level of security on the Internet. I mean, protocols like IPsec, HTTP, etc., that adds this element of security to the net. On the communication networks, already in the very beginning of the GSM standard, the security mechanisms were built in. And there's still the same security mechanisms that are running in the GSM networks. 20 years later, we still have the same security mechanism and it's still working. So GSM today, with 7 billion users, is the largest security machine out there. Furthermore, when packet data was introduced into the mobile network, the standards bodies were clever enough to ensure security already from the beginning. By, for instance, ensuring that the device could never touch the network element. The device could only set up a packet session from itself to another place on the Internet. It could never touch a base station, it could never touch a router internally in the network, it could never touch anything that was sensitive for the performance of the network. The 4G standards now also support deployment of base stations, radio base stations in non-trusted environments. So it's a pure, also with 4G also the radio networks will be all IP and will be connected to open IP networks. And also in these cases the standards have already defined measures for security to cater for this by having IPsec as a required protocols in between these nodes. Further steps are continuously being taken. Recently, work started in 3GPP not just to ensure sort of security in the intended domain, but also in the non-intended domain, because as all the interfaces, the operations and maintenance interfaces, all go into the IP world, there is a need to make sure that there is security insurance in a way that is standardized across this network, so that you can be sure that nothing malicious can happen over the operation and maintenance interfaces, over any other possible internal interfaces. So there are standards well on the way to define security assurance. Likewise, also in the IT world, you have approaches like common criteria, which clearly takes care of these type of protective measures for intrusions into computer systems. Thus, the usage of global standards and best practices are fundamental in this respect, not to balkanize the Internet. The EU market may be large, but it's really only the global scale that is the only winner. And please remember that the Internet is already global from the very beginning. Also, this global scale has been driving affordability of mobile devices, mobile terminals, and so on and so forth. So these days you have mobile devices also in very less developed countries. People that don't have a PC, where they hardly have roads, etc., etc., they all have mobile phones, and with them they can then be part of this digital society. The NIS Directive proposes harmonized obligations across all EU member states on having competent bodies for cybersecurity, computer emergency response teams, etc. This would fundamentally simplify the build-out of secure networks across Europe through economies of scale, through avoiding fragmentation and ensuring interoperability, as well as the ability to handle cross-border threats in an efficient way. Therefore, as an industry person, I absolutely welcome the intent of the Commission in this NIS proposal. Also coming from a company that builds network for some 2 billion users, and who also operates networks for 1 billion users across the world. We have since many years interacted with computer emergency response teams all over the world, and thereby been getting incident reports, been getting the latest and greatest on what viruses are out there, what threats are happening, and so on and so forth. So using this information sharing mechanism, we have been able to integrate protective measures into our networks before it becomes an issue. And this is a continuously ongoing process throughout the ICT industry. And it's absolutely necessary because the networks, the services, as well as the threats evolve rapidly all in real time. Meaning that facilitating fast information exchange is fundamental to mitigate any new threat and secure networks and information. Of course, governments have its responsibility, as these networks then carry also critical infrastructure and critical functions for the society and economies as a whole. And of course, the government are using its policy and regulatory interest. Perhaps needless to say is that no micromanagement of technical solutions would benefit neither the innovative growth or the use of these nor the security of these networks. Having the sort of industry taking care of its issues through open standards, through the information sharing process with certs, with competent bodies, with agencies, etc., is the way to go. Commercial actors do already have strong incentives to ensure security of their products and offers. Incentives that already ensures actions to handle the vast majority of all malicious threats. Indeed, it's in all the commercial actors' interest to ensure that the service are safe, that it's up and running, that you don't get downtime, that you don't get compromised, that vital information don't get stolen. That's already part of the commercial obligation. But it's indeed correct to add the societal dimension, as this infrastructure doesn't only sort of live in the commercial world, it's also part of critical infrastructures for the society as such. Therefore, adding the governmental responsibility dimension into this. So therefore, the operators of such critical infrastructures, the technology providers, academia and governments need to find a proper shared responsibility model that would neither balkanize Europe from the rest of the global market, nor stifle innovation and growth. Tools that could be considered in such context would be information exchange, joint risk analysis approaches, standards, best practices, performance analysis, incident reporting, incentives that actually stimulate the improvement of security rather than discourage it or complicates it, and joint collaborative actions through certs and other approaches. And indeed, we have to mention the dimension of academia. World-class research and competence development is necessary for Europe to stay on par with other major regions in this area. So to conclude, we clearly recommend an approach built on global standards and best practice, and a shared responsibility model involving industry, academia, regulator, without micromanagement that would only stifle innovation, stifle the growth of the network-based economy, as well as be counterproductive to the innovative growth also of the security capabilities of these networks. Thank you very much.